Hello and welcome to another episode of 1000 Actually Fun Books, where we review books of every genre looking for the best of fun escapist books. Okay, today we're going to review the book Dance of Cloaks by David Dalglish. And this is the first of a series. It's book number 1 of the Shadow Dance books. And it is a fantasy action book, best described that way. And it's about, the plot is that in this fantasy medieval-esque era town, that there is a head of one thieves guild. There's multiple thieves guilds in this town. The head of the Spider Thief Guild is trying to take control of the city. So what he wants to do is unite all the thieves guilds, at least in one task, which is to assassinate the head of a trifecta of noble leaders. They're a head of other merchant guilds, like they're the merchant class, nobility. And there's 3 main factions, and he wants to eliminate the heads of these people, cut them off, and basically be like, I want people to fear me, to know my name, to be in massive control kind of person. His name is Thren. So that is kind of his ultimate goal. And so there's a whole cast of characters involved in this. You've got the nobles and their families. You have the Thief Guild, the Spider Thief Guild, Thren, and he is kind of the main character. A secondary main character would be his son, Aaron, and his son starts out 8 in the prologue, but 13 throughout the rest of the book, kind of learning the skills of the trade and what's going on with that. And, several lieutenants in this Spider Guild. You have a priesthood that's kind of getting involved, and they're like priests with assassins, and so what are they doing going on? And, factions that are outside the nobility but trying to also maneuver things. You've got the king and his advisors and what they're doing. So it's a huge cast of characters all dancing around each other. A dance of cloaks. Dancing around each other, trying to grasp as much power as they can. So very much a lot of political intrigue and action going on. So things that I like is, despite the huge cast of characters, the author does a fantastic job of making you, the reader, aware of who each character is, what part they're playing in the overall scheme. You come back to a character after several pages, several chapters of being away from the character, and the author does a good job of subtly reminding you of who this person is, so you don't get lost in the story. I ended up putting this book down for like 2 weeks and coming back and still being able to follow it without any problem, because the author does such a good job on that. The author does a great job with his pacing. It is a fast-paced book. There's, short chapters or short sections within the chapters, and it kind of goes boom, boom, boom. What is this person doing? And what is this person doing? And what is this person doing in response? And that kind of thing. So you never really feel like it slows down. The entire story, I think, takes place during a fairly short time period. Weeks, not super short, like a day or anything like that, but relatively short time period where you're feeling the pressure of time is running out in a lot of respects. So the author did a good job in the pacing. Our sort of main character, Aaron, I kind of get the impression that he's going to be a much bigger character in subsequent books, but in this book, he is a one of main characters, and you do see character growth in him. He starts out pretty unlikable, and about halfway through he does make some decent choices, and so you kind of end up being able to root for him by the end. So I did like that there was some character growth. There is action. If you want a book with action, this has it. It's unrelenting feel of, fights and escapes and, thievery and assassins and plotting kind of things going on. The world building is pretty good in this. It's not fantasy world building like, fantastic creatures, but a political scape, a political atmosphere there's lots of world building there about all the different thieves guilds and what is their relationship with one another, and the court intrigues and the nobility intrigues and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of good, well-handled world building in that respect. Who are these people? What side are they on? Why are they doing what they're doing? The author does a good job with that. Okay, dislike. This book is unrelenting in the action, but is unrelenting in kind of an evil overturn in this action. There are no good guys in this. Aaron is probably the best as far as a good guy goes, and even he doesn't start out likable. He kind of starts out maybe a little bit naive and then grows to somebody going, you know what, I don't really like this. But he's the only character in this entire book that's even sort of semi-likable. Everybody else is just so awful. This is not a character-driven book. This is a plot-driven, action-driven book. And so you don't get to know characters, and if you do get to know them, you don't like them. They're selfish, they're greedy, they're ambitious in the worst way possible. They are plotting. They are all about themselves. What can I get out of this? If something good versus something selfish comes up, everybody in this story takes the selfish route. I mean, it's kind of awful. I kind of felt like ooey, gicky, icky, bleh, and how much evil is prevailing in this story. So I did not like that. It's just too much backstabbing and selfishness. Another thing I didn't love, although this isn't a big thing, this is a book clearly set up for a sequel. So this does not end on a super satisfying note, not totally a cliffhanger, but it almost has a cliffhanger feel. Plans come to this part, and then the characters are kind of like, okay, now what? And that's kind of how it feels like it ends. It's not, the middle of a sentence. I've had much worse cliffhanger books, but it doesn't have a satisfying ending, I didn't feel. So we have our unlikable characters. So with that in mind, with unlikable characters, I did want to read at the very beginning the epilogue, so page 8. So you have Thren, the father, the leader of the Spider Guild, one of the main characters. You have Aaron, at this point in the epilogue, he's only 8. And then his second son, who is the older son, Randith, who is probably, I can't remember, it gave an age, but we'll just say 17, 20, something like that. Okay, so this is just kind of giving you an example of what's going on here. Father? Randith asked as he stepped inside. By the way, Thren has just had somebody try to assassinate him, and the body of the assassin is on the floor. Senec, Thren's right-hand man, was with him. He looked slightly older than Randith, with trimmed blonde beard and a thick mace held in hand. They both startled at the dead body lying on the floor, a gaping wound in his back. He waited until you left, Thren said from his chair, which he positioned to face the entrance. Where? Randith asked. He pointed to Aaron. Why is he here? Thren shook his head. You don't understand, Randith. You disobeyed me, not out of wisdom, but out of arrogance and pride. You treat our enemies with contempt instead of respect worthy of their danger. Worst of all, you put my life at risk. He looked to Aaron, back to Randith. Too many mistakes, he said. Far too many. Then he waited and hoped. Aaron stepped toward his older brother. His blue eyes were calm, unworried. In a single smooth motion, he yanked Randith's dagger from his own belt, flipped it around, and thrust it to the hilt in his brother's chest. Okay, I'll stop there. His father is pleased with this. So that kind of gives you an idea of, you're introduced to all these characters, and, Thren is thrilled that his oldest is killed and that it is dead, and that his youngest is the killer. Aaron is not really understanding, but pleased that he pleased his father and got rid of an older brother. The lieutenant is indifferent. Nobody cares that this guy died. It's just the end. So you can see this is not a character-driven story, and that all the characters come out unlikable right at the beginning, right out of the gate, awful people. So I just wanted to give you an example of that kind of thing that's going on. There's at least one sexual assault that is attempted. It does not succeed, but you get far enough through and it is kind of nauseating the way it's depicted. Somebody throws up in another person's mouth. I mean, it's a level of gross there, okay? And there's a little bit too much explicit sexual stuff, but none of the sex is romantic in this book. It's somewhat explicit, we'll say mildly explicit, but it is never, there's no love involved, no romance involved in any reference or allusion to sex in this book. So that's not fun either. So my overall feel of this is not really all that positive. I have no interest in reading the second book. But my husband liked it. He is much more somebody who really likes plot-driven, action-driven than he cares about character. And I'm a little bit more balanced in that. I like both to be enjoyable. I don't like purely character-driven, but I don't like purely plot action-driven. And this one, it was just too black ooze feel all over it, where everybody's just so evil, awful. I just couldn't get past the characters to get to enjoy the plot, because the plot was good. It really was. I think at the end of the book, I would say, good job, author, on your plotting. But I just didn't like the characters enough to like this book. So I'm going to just give it an okay. It's not so bad that I would say to somebody, don't read it, especially if you really like that action, the assassinations and backstabbing and stuff, the political intrigue going on. But I don't consider it fun, enjoyable. So I'm just going to give it an okay for this book. Okay, part 2, the book I'm going to read next is a historical fiction / light romance. This is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. This one seems to have a lot of really good reviews. People really like it. My mother said she liked it. So I'm going to give that a try. So historical fiction, it takes place a little bit after World War II. So, that era of time. It's written letters. It's letter writing. So you get, all the words on it. There's no narrative. It's all letter writing back and forth. So we'll see if that's any good, because sometimes that can be good, sometimes not. Okay, so that's my conclusion on this one. Thank you for watching, and I hope you watch next time.